Tavia here. I have a new video for you. Today we are going to be learning the different ways to shuffle the decks, as well as to pick cards for tarot. I'm not going to be explaining any of the cards or like going over any of their meanings, but this I feel like would have been extremely helpful to me in my journey when I started doing tarot, because I picked up these things along the way. So we're going to be going over, I have notes here. So we're going to be going over shuffling, like the different ways you can do it, cutting the deck, like how to, interpret, how to cleanse your deck, all that jazz. So I have a few different size tarot cards. I'm a woman, I have small hands. So depending on the size of your hands will determine on how you are going to shuffle your cards. So this deck is the Goddess Guidance deck. It's discontinued, but you can still, I can get them out. You can still purchase them on certain websites. So like if you look at it, those are pretty standard size playing card sizes. So some people shuffle like this when they're shuffling the deck. That doesn't work for me. I just shuffle them like regular cards. And because they're small enough, I can just shuffle them like normal, like that. And for me, when I first started, okay, so we're gonna just look at how to like shuffle them, and then we'll go over like how to pick cards and stuff like that. So that's it. Just your standard, like I said, or some people shuffle like this, sideways. That's how they're shuffling their deck. And ran away. Like I said, other people do it like that. Just depends on the person. So I'm gonna get a little bit bigger. This deck is the Light Seer Tarot deck. It's one of the newer decks that I have. I don't know if you can see it. It's one of my favorite. The art on here is absolutely beautiful. So you can see these cards are a little larger than the Goddess Guidance deck. So because this is so wide, it's really hard for me to bend it. So what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to shuffle it normal like this. I'm going to shuffle it like that. So I'm going to have the corners touch each other because it's easier for me to do that. So I'm just going to come from the corner so you can see that the cards are a little wonky in that way, because I can't, my hand isn't long enough to do it the traditional way like this. So I have to do that like that. And then I have another much larger deck. This is the Dark Goddess Oracle cards. Love this deck. And as you can see, this card is gigantic. Like that's my whole hand. And that's compared to that one and this one. So you see they all vary. So with this one, I cannot do it the other way. So I literally just do them like this, and then I just do the corners like I did with the last deck, like that. So instead of doing it sideways, I just bring the corners together like that. Okay, so now choosing. When I first started tarot and doing like oracle cards, like I said, I had no background in this whatsoever. I was literally just learning as I went. So I saw a lot of videos where they would do like the fan out technique and then they would choose. The problem for me was, as we know, our right hand sends energy, our left hand receives energy. So I would use my left hand and I would be like, okay. But then the problem I found I had by using this method, and this may work perfect for you. I'm just saying this did not work for me. I found that I'd be like, well, is it this one or this one? Is it this one or this one? And I wasn't getting clear answers. So then I saw somebody and they, shuffled their cards and, like then I heard them say, oh, I hear number 7. So then I asked my spirit guides to do that. So then I would be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then the card that I'm supposed to pick is number 7. That worked really well. There's another thing. Oh, and then shuffling, for me, I'll just shuffle as many times as my guides say to. So, just follow your intuition. Is that enough shuffling? Do I need to shuffle more? They'll let you know. Sorry, I'm looking at the time. And then, so the numbers worked, or I know people, they would do like 2 piles, and then their guides would say 5th from the bottom. And then they'd say the right pile, and they'd be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For me, this is the technique that I employ that works the best for me. I just ask Spirit for jump cards. So I'm going to shuffle for a second. And I'm just putting the intention of whatever the reading is while I'm shuffling. So I would be like, if I'm doing it for the collective, I would say, what messages, does the collective need to hear right now? And that's just what I'm focusing on while I am shuffling, okay? So now we can get to cutting the deck. I just listen to what Spirit says. Do I cut the deck in half? Then I just choose where I want to do it, like that. You can also do, like, sometimes they'll say cut it in 3s. Do that. And then I'll just, do something like that. Or you can do that in 4s. So now I'm going to ask Spirit for a jump card. Spirit, can you please give me an example of a jump card? I like this method because then I don't have any doubt. Ooh, see how that one just popped out? Okay, can I get one more? I know that this is the card that whoever or whatever reading it is that I'm doing, I know this is the card that, I know the Spirit is choosing this card. Obviously, they're choosing it. And sometimes they'll come out like 8 at a time. So then I'll say, Spirit, can you please give me 1 jump card at a time, please? Ooh, there we go. So you see how those like kicked out like that? So I got like 2 or 3 cards. So the next thing with that is, do not let anybody tell you that you need to have if you're doing tarot, do not let anybody tell you need to have the guidebook memorized, you need to have all the meanings down. I've been on this journey for 2 years with my tarot journey, and I still use the guidebook on certain occasions. A lot of times the messages are intuitive, but how I receive a lot of my messages personally is by reading, and then it's like, bam, Spirit will prompt that information. So that was one thing that I got very discouraged about, because I'm like, in regular tarot, there's 78 fucking cards. That's a lot. If you are starting your tarot journey, I highly recommend you getting like an oracle deck. This is the first deck that I ever got, because the cards are easier to interpret, and the messages are a little clearer versus tarot. You have to be able to really discern and delineate that information. So with that, when you're reading tarot, when you're reading oracle cards, Readings by Celeste told me this. She was like, look at the story. Tarot is not just a single card. I can read this from right to left, left to right. I can read it from top down, diagonal. All the cards like coincide. If you read it as a story, I found it's a lot easy for me to be able to give the messages because I'm looking at it as a whole. Look at the cards. What common themes do they have? Does every card have a butterfly? Does every card have a sun? Is there a star? Is it wands? Because each card, everything represents something different. If the person was speaking, what would they say? All that kind of information. So like, we have the 10 of Wands. The 10 of Wands represents like too many burdens, or, packing up on your journey. So I'd be like, if you look at her, she has all her things packed. Look, she has what is it? Looks like a yak or something, or an ox. Her ox is full, and she also is carrying things in her hand. So she's not going to be able to go very far on her journey, because not only is her ox full, but she's full as well. Something like that. And then the Queen of Cups. She's a water sign, and she's perfectly balanced on land and in the water. So the cups represents the element of water. So with her, I would say, she's communing with Spirit. Not only is her head is in the clouds with the information it is that she's receiving and all that, but she's also in the water, and she's allowing those things to flow. So something like that. And that helped me a lot. Also, one thing that I didn't know until Fire and Water, hey girl, hey Kiara, she was like, I got a reading from her and her twin, and she was like, oh, can I touch the card? And I'm like, what? And she was like, she's like, yeah. She's like, I need to touch the card. She's like, sorry, I get more information that way. So touch the card. Like some people, I'll see them do this in their videos, or, you know, like this, or like sometimes you'll see me just, I'm not rearranging anything. I'm just touching them to see if I can get any more information. So that's maybe something that works for you. You know, look at the card. What is spirit drawing to your attention on that card? Because a lot of times that's going to coincide with your message, and that's going to like help you, you know, confirm information. How to choose a tarot deck or how to choose an oracle deck. I physically went and bought mine. I went to Barnes and Noble, or you can go to a metaphysical shop. I just used my left hand. This was the first deck that I picked out, but I was just like, there's no way that it was the first one. It was. Others resonated. Like I told you, you have minor chakras in your hands. I got like my arm started like vibrating, and I felt all the other decks, every single one, and some of them, it was a little bit in my hand that I now have, but this one was like, bam, this is supposed to be it. Then I opened this, and this lady was staring back at me. So I was like, oh, that could totally have been me in a different life, or me when I get older. So I was just like, okay, that's fucking it. You're gonna know. I do the same thing if I'm buying tarot online. I'll just put my hand over the screen and I'll be like, tell me which one it is. How you can cleanse your decks, what I like to do is when I get it, you don't want to use your deck if it's not cleansed. I would just use my selenite wand, stick it on the deck. You can do Reiki. They have lots of different crystals. You can use Florida water. You can use moon water. You can spray it. You know, you can sage it. You can use Palo Santo. And that is what I found has worked best for me. Hopefully this information gave you more information it is that you need. Like I said, read it as a story. That has been the best information that I could have received, because when you read it like a story, it becomes clearer to you as you're reading the tarot. And if you're thinking about it, if you want to do it, you just need to remember, that's it. You've already done it in another life. If you're thinking about it, nobody needs to tell you that it's okay. You don't need permission from anyone. You don't need to get vetted. You don't need to, I mean, you can have a mentorship or an apprenticeship. But if you're already thinking about this, you just have to align with it. So don't feel like, you know, daunted, and just start channeling. That's what I did. I was totally fucking channeling the first reading that I ever did. I just started by doing 1-card pulls for people that I knew. And then somebody was like, oh my God, like, you're amazing. Like, you need to start charging. And I was like, really? I had been doing it for a few months at that point. And I was so like, would anybody want to buy a reading from me? And they did. And look at me, I have a fucking website, and I'm reading tarot on the regular basis, and I have regular clients. But if you would have told me, I wasn't even thinking about doing tarot. That was not even my wheelhouse. Like I said, this was completely foreign to me. And now I probably have like 30 something decks of tarot and oracle cards. So I hope maybe this can break down some information, and let me know if you guys have any questions. I'm totally open to video suggestions, or if you have a question, not about your life or a reading, but like, well, how were you able to blah, 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 blah. You know, like, how were you able to choose your deck? What's your favorite deck? Things like that. I don't mind, you know, doing little things like that, you know, for you guys. And that's why I always show the decks that I use, because I cannot. So if you guys start reading tarot, please put in what deck it is that you're using. Even if you don't show it in the video, just write it in the description, because there's nothing more irritating than seeing a deck that you like and you don't know which one it is. So on that note, I hope this message finds you well. The light in me honors and sees the light in